All right, guys, so we've had a lot of conversations about mental health in this country, and you have some candidates in particular, like, for example, Vivek Ramaswamy, who has advocated for opening back up mental health facilities in this country. And I agree with him. We really do, okay? Because we have various forms of derangement in this country in which we definitely need some people, particularly in the liberal media, to sit on somebody's couch and to figure out what the hell is going on in their head in regards to their Trump derangement syndrome, okay? I'm so serious, bro. I'm so serious. We need to open up mental health facilities to solve this issue of Trump derangement syndrome. Right? I'm so serious, okay? That's probably one of the number one issues we need to deal with in this country, okay? This clip right here from MSNBC's Rachel Maddow is a prime example of what I'm talking about, as she declares that if Trump is elected in 2024, then he will be president for life. Essentially, he will become king, because apparently if Trump gets elected, there will be no more elections, right? He's not going to allow there to be any more elections, and he'll just be king. And again, this is one of the latest conspiracies that, Rachel Maddow has pushed, okay? But she's known for pushing conspiracies like, for example, conspiracies about the COVID-19 vaccine and its effectiveness, and the Russia collusion conspiracy. So again, this is par for the course when it comes to conspiracies that are pushed on MSNBC by Rachel Maddow. Take a look.
The election means one of two things, if this is the way he's going to approach it. Either he loses the election and he goes to prison, or he wins the election, he doesn't go to prison, and is that for life that he gets to be president? Will we keep having more elections or no? If every election is a new opportunity for him to go to prison, do you think he allows us to have new elections? I mean, if those are the stakes, if winning the election is his plan to stay out of prison, what happens in that election if and when he does not win it? Does that kind of an election end with a graceful concession to a fair and square re-elected President Biden? I mean, if Trump and his supporters see the stakes as losing and going to prison, or winning and being president, and probably president for life, how should we expect that he and the Republican Party and Republican officials in swing states are going to handle the conduct of that election that Trump may very well lose? And because we are prone to forget, we have to say out loud, that we would be remiss, we would be willfully naive to ask that question as if our politics exists in a vacuum, somewhere outside the rest of our news. As if the politics pages are totally different than the crime pages, right? As if we are not in a moment where far-right politics is coincident with far-right violence, with regular shows of force from paramilitary extreme right groups, and with acts of violence by people who are explicitly and admittedly motivated by far-right eliminationist political ideas. We are prone to forget, but we do not have to.
Wow, that clip just reminded me just how radical Rachel is on that network, okay? Rachel Maddow is a radical left liberal, okay? She is out of her mind, okay? And, the reason why I think that her coming out here and floating this theory that if Trump is elected, that he's basically going to become king, he's going to be president for life, it's just funny because I've always made the argument that the January 6th stuff really doesn't make sense in regards to them being afraid of what happens if Trump takes power, in regards to him, I guess, staying in office, because constitutionally he's not allowed to run anymore, okay? 4 years, he's out, okay? I have no doubt in my mind, if Trump becomes president again, at the end of his term, he's done. I really do think that Trump really is just one of the type of guys where he's just like, I just want to get back in office. I want to serve my last 4 years and I want to be done, right? The dude is going to be basically approaching his mid-80s. I don't think he's going to want to continue to be president until he dies, okay? But again, they need to serve up this conspiracy that Trump is going to be in office for life in order to justify their fears around January 6th and why you shouldn't allow him to be president again, right? And it's hilarious because her rationale behind this is this idea, well, Trump's going to want to stay in office because he doesn't want to go to jail. However, you have legal analysts on other liberal media outlets like CNN basically saying that, well, if Trump wins, he's probably not going to jail, period.
Is he going to actually go to prison is a lot of people's question. Let me just lay out the steps. A, he has to be convicted,
Right.
which could well happen. I actually think it's quite possible. Then he has to be sentenced to prison, which I think in any of those three cases is likely.
Okay.
Then, though, if he wins the election, forget it. If he wins the election, he'll throw out the DOJ cases. He'll pardon himself.
And the Georgia case?
The problem with the Georgia case is they're not going to be able to try him while he's sitting president. I mean,
Oh, wow. Okay.
constitutionally, given the federal supremacy
Right.
doctrine, there's no way the federal courts will allow she's a county level prosecutor. I mean, that would be the same thing as if the Sussex County, New Jersey, I don't live in Sussex County, but like the Sussex County, New Jersey prosecutor tried to put Joe Biden on trial right now.
Right.
It would never happen.
So,
I've heard people say, well, constitutionally, we don't know. I'm sorry. My legal analysis on this one boils down to that ain't happening.
so if Trump wins in 2024,
Right.
all of these indictments washed away.
Well, the DOJ indictments get dismissed.
Dismissed.
or he'll try to pardon himself. We don't know if that's
Right.
legal or not. But the problem is the only way to challenge a self-pardon is DOJ has to indict him and then litigate it. It's going to be his DOJ. I guess theoretically he could be charged. He could be tried in New York and Georgia in 2029.
Right.
But I mean, if that's what we're waiting for, I'm not going to hold my breath on that.
He's an old man.
He'll be 80,
Yeah.
whatever, two, and it'll be the conduct will be a decade old. I mean, I don't know how that's going to actually play out.
So, if
And let me add this.
Yeah.
If he loses,
Yes.
he gets sentenced to prison. Then there's still the possibility. People get so mad when I say this. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there's a possibility that he gets commutation from the federal cases. There's a possibility that a second term 84, 85-year-old Joe Biden says, not pardoning him, conviction stands for history, but I don't think we need him to go to prison. I beat him twice in an election. Let's move on. It's possible. The Georgia case is more complicated because there's no presidential pardon for that. And there's not even a governor pardon for that. It's this board of pardons. So Georgia in that respect is I think, very problematic for him. But my point is, with all these cases, there's 3, 4, 5 substantial hurdles that need to be overcome. And by the way, he is not going to get locked up before the election, no matter what.
No matter what.
Because even if he gets convicted and then sentenced to prison all before the election, he will almost certainly get what we call bail pending appeal, meaning the judge will say, you don't have to start serving your time until you've exhausted and lost all your appeals. And that means the Intermediate Court of Appeals, whether the Federal Circuit Court and then maybe U.S. Supreme Court, or the same thing at the state level. That's going to take, I mean, even if they super expedited it, a year, 18 months to get through all of his appeals.
Yeah, so in a certain sense, Rachel is right. This election for Trump basically is win or go to jail, right? Assuming that he will be found guilty, which we don't know, okay? I hope that he's not. But if you assume that he's going to be found guilty, then, yeah, the election is win or go to jail. However, if he wins, the chance of him going to jail is slim to none, okay? It's very slim to none. So I don't think that trying to tell voters that, well, if Trump gets elected, he's going to be in office for life is very honest, because first and foremost, his incentive in regards to staying in office because he doesn't want to go to jail is not going to be there, because he can just basically get rid of the federal charges himself in terms of pardon himself, or, running the DOJ and, basically having them dismissed. Okay. And when it comes to the state stuff, again, we're talking about state level charges. Okay. They're not going to be able to arrest the president of the United States on state level nonsense, right? It's not going to happen, right? And even when he leaves office, we're going to be talking about 10 years down the road from when the alleged crimes were committed. It's just, it's nonsensical, right? It really is. Also, on top of that, you have this thing called checks and balances where he just can't unilaterally just say, hey, I'm going to stay in office, right? It would have to be an act of Congress to have it so Trump is going to stay president for life. It's just not going to happen. And the only way that could even possibly happen, okay, is if, I don't know, there was some constitutional amendment that was changed and Republicans overwhelmingly agreed in Congress to do it. I don't see a scenario in which that would ever happen. Okay, it would never happen. So what she's saying there really is just feeding BS to her ignorant audience, right? She thinks her audience is dumb, and she's trying to fearmonger them into, I guess, voting against Trump because if he becomes elected, he might stay in office forever, right? I mean, I'm just saying it's nonsense, okay? And the irony of all this is Rachel Maddow sitting here talking about if Trump gets elected, he's not going to have elections anymore, when you literally have Democrats trying to essentially, I don't know, rig the outcome of the 2024 election ahead of time by taking Trump off the ballot, okay? We talked about this happening potentially in New Hampshire, and also there's a movement, there's an effort to do that down in Florida as well, too. Take a look.
A local lawyer is suing Donald Trump.
This as it appears the former president is trying to distance himself from his co-defendants after his Georgia arrest. The Night Team's Joe Rhodes is along now at the Satellite Center. Joe?
Craig Belkis, this attorney says it's simple. According to the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, Donald Trump is ineligible for office. So he filed a lawsuit and now says others may follow.
I'm not political. I voted for both Democratic and Republican presidents.
He may not be overly political, but lawyer Lawrence Kaplan has major concerns if Donald Trump becomes president of the United States again.
I think we'll be looking at the end of American democracy as we've come to know it. There's no hard and fast rule that says that a democracy has to last forever.
Which is why the Boynton Beach attorney says he filed a civil lawsuit to prevent Trump from running. His reasoning, Trump's federal indictment following the deadly January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Kaplan calling upon the 14th Amendment. His lawsuit states in part, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment automatically excludes from future office and position of power in the U.S. government any individual who has previously taken an oath to support and defend our Constitution and after which acts so as to rebel against that charter.
It's really common sense based upon the facts that we know them today regarding specifically the January 6th indictment that Donald Trump was very much involved in the planning.
He claims Trump doesn't even need to be convicted of the crime.
But the fact that he was indicted by a federal court for these crimes that are specifically listed in Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, it's what's called in the law self-executing.
In regards to that section of Amendment 14, Kaplan admits, while one can certainly argue that it has not been thoroughly tested, that fact is only because we have not faced an insurrection against our federal government.
The Section 3 is sort of fallen by the wayside. It was passed in 1868 after the Civil War to prevent Confederate hangers-on from running for office.
Former President Trump surrendered Thursday following his fourth criminal indictment. President Joe Biden reacting Friday while in Lake Tahoe.
Have you seen Donald Trump's mugshot yet? Mr. President, are you worried at all about that?
I did see it on television.
What'd you think?
Handsome guy. Wonderful guy.
Yeah, so I want you guys to understand the irony of what this woke lawyer is saying, right? He says that, well, if Donald Trump is elected, then it will be the end of democracy, which, again, these people have no evidence for whatsoever. Okay, there's no evidence. There's no chance that if Trump actually gets elected, that he's going to be president for life. It's not going to happen. They're not going to let it happen. We saw what happened after January 6th. We saw that they're not going to let that happen. It would not, even if he attempted to do it, which I don't think he would, it's not going to happen, okay? It's not going to happen. But he's claiming that Trump's going to end democracy while at the same time suing to basically end democracy in Florida, right? That's what he's doing. He's suing to end democracy because he's basically having a very liberal interpretation of the 14th Amendment. So liberal that he doesn't think that Trump actually needs to be found guilty. All you got to do is just indict, right? All he has to do is be indicted for his role in January 6th, and therefore he's now constitutionally ineligible to become president by the 14th Amendment, right? Again, it's amazing because if I was a Republican president, right, and I could use that same type of interpretation, any election that comes up, right, let me just take my political opponent out by just saying, hey, look, I'm going to indict you, right? I'm going to use the DOJ. I'm going to weaponize the DOJ, which is exactly what's happening right now from the Biden administration. I'm going to weaponize the DOJ and indict you, okay? And therefore, you're going to be ineligible to run, right? You're going to be ineligible to run. Again, liberals don't understand the precedents that they are setting in this country. They really don't. They don't care. Maybe they do understand. Maybe they just don't give a damn. Maybe they feel like, you know what? This power grab is going to be so significant that Republicans will never take office again. So therefore, we don't have to worry about it backfiring on us. I really do believe that that's what these people think. There is no other way they can think about it and be comfortable with what they're doing, right? They must believe that this power grab is going to be permanent, right? They will never let go of power. And that, in my opinion, guys, is the real threat to democracy. What you see the Democrats doing, it's not just a threat to democracy, it's a threat to our republic, because that's what we have. We have a constitutional republic. And what you're saying from the Democrats is a threat to this republic. They're showing you who they are. You don't need to worry about Trump becoming king or president for life if he's reelected. What you actually need to worry about, if Biden is reelected, Democrats never giving up the office of president, because every single time there's a challenger, they'll just take them out using the 14th Amendment and indicting them on BS charges, claiming that they're insurrectionists. They'll find some way to finagle any Republican that runs against a Democrat or that challenges Democrats. They'll find some way to say, oh, well, they're connected to January 6th in some way, right? They'll find a way to do it, okay? They'll indict them and then say, hey, you're ineligible. That's what they're going to do. That's where this is going. And I'm telling you, these people, they're full-blown fascists, okay? They're authoritarians. That's what they are. They don't believe in elections, right? They don't believe in people deciding for themselves what the direction of this country should be. No. If you believe people should decide what the direction of this country is, you're the threat to democracy, not us who are taking away your right as people to decide the direction of this country. It's absolutely amazing the arguments these people are making. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.